Hello everyone. I will be teaching you eukaryotic transcription in this video class. In my previous video, I spoke about prokaryotic transcription. In case of the prokaryotes, the bacteria has the double-stranded circular genome and the genes are arranged in the form of operons. That means the genes are present one after the other and they are probably under the control of a single promoter. So for the energy optimal utilization, the bacteria has adopted such mechanism. But there are some processes which are similar both in case of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. And in fact, I am going to discuss in detail about the eukaryotic transcription in this class. Initially, to recall some points about the prokaryotic transcription, the bacteria has only one type of RNA polymerase, and the RNA polymerase is approximately 459 kilodalton in molecular weight, and it has two alpha subunits, beta, beta dash, omega and sigma subunits in case of the bacterial system. So this single type of RNA polymerase will transcribe all the three types of RNA, that is mRNA, tRNA and rRNA. But how about in case of the eukaryotes? I am going to give the comparison between the bacterial system and eukaryotic transcription in this class. So as I said, in case of the prokaryotes, it is the three type, the transcription is divided into initiation, elongation and termination. It is same in case of the eukaryotic system also. But before I start with the eukaryotic transcription, I should tell you about the RNA polymerases in case of the eukaryotes. In case of the eukaryotes, there are three different types of RNA polymerases: RNA polymerase 1, RNA polymerase 2, RNA polymerase 3. But in plants, other two types of RNA polymerase have been discovered and they are named as RNA polymerase 4 and RNA polymerase 5. If you look at the functions of these different RNA polymerases, unlike your bacteria, RNA polymerase 1 transcribes rRNA genes. Specifically, eukaryotes have 4 different types of rRNAs. Among 4 types, 5.8S, 18S and 28S are the rRNAs that are transcribed by RNA polymerase 1. RNA polymerase 2 transcribes mainly mRNA coding genes and partly some small nuclear RNA and small cytosolic RNA. So they are designated as snRNA and scRNA respectively. So RNA polymerase 3, it transcribes mainly tRNA coding genes, and as I said, there are 4 different types of rRNAs. Among them, 5S rRNA is transcribed by RNA polymerase 3 and it also transcribes some small nuclear RNAs. Apart from this, as I said, RNA polymerase 4 and 5 they are found only in the plants and they are involved in transcribing small interfering RNAs. Still the research is going on about this kind of RNA polymerase 4 and 5. Then the most amazing thing is, in case of the bacterial RNA polymerases, we have 6 subunits. These 6 subunits have different functions. Among them, as I spoke in detail in the previous video, sigma subunit is responsible for the promoter recognition. Beta subunit is responsible for the sliding of the RNA polymerase on the template DNA. Like this, all individual subunits have unique functions. How about in case of the eukaryotes, there are three different types of RNA polymerases. But how about the subunits? Yes, when it comes to subunits, there are these eukaryotic RNA polymerases vary in the number of subunits as well as in case of the molecular weight. You can see that the prokaryotic RNA polymerase has 2 alpha, 1 beta, beta dash, omega and sigma subunit. Is in the same way, there is a subunit called as RPA1 in case of the eukaryotic RNA polymerase 1, which takes care of the function that is taken care by alpha in case of the bacteria. In case of RNA polymerase 2, RPB1 is the subunit which performs the function of alpha in case of the prokaryotes. In the RNA polymerase 3, it is RPC1 subunit, takes care of the function of the alpha. Similarly, all the subunits have synonymous subunits in case of the eukaryotes. But one very important subunit is missing here. We have sigma subunit in case of the prokaryotes, but there is no synonymous subunit for sigma. There is no synonymous subunit for sigma in case of RNA polymerase 2, 3 and 1. Basically, sigma subunit is essential for promoter recognition in case of the prokaryotes. But here we are not finding any subunit that is equivalent to sigma subunit. How then? The question that arises is, how exactly eukaryotic RNA polymerases recognize the promoter? The answer will be given shortly. Yes, coming back to the synonymous subunits of the sigma, there are specialized proteins in case of the eukaryotes and they are called as transcription factors. These transcription factors can be defined as, these are DNA binding proteins. Upon binding, they recruit RNA polymerase to the site of transcription, thereby from the site RNA polymerase initiate transcription. So what I can tell you in very simple words is, though eukaryotic RNA polymerases do not have sigma subunit, transcription factors helps to recognize the promoter. After the recognition of the promoter by the transcription factors, RNA polymerase directly recognizes the promoter or directly recruited to the site of promoter. This is how the promoter is recognized even in the absence of sigma subunit in case of the eukaryotes. Now, RNA polymerase 1 requires a class of transcription factors called as TF1. T for transcription, F for factor, TF1. Since it is RNA polymerase 1, it requires the class of transcription factors called as TF1. In case of RNA polymerase 2, it requires the transcription factor 2 family, that is TF2. RNA polymerase 3 requires TF3 class of transcription factors. So in this class, I will be explaining you about the genes that are transcribed by RNA polymerase 2 with the help of transcription factor 2 family proteins. So, it is essential to know the structure of the gene before we start with the eukaryotic transcription. As I explained you in my previous video, this is the gene, beginning of the gene. So, +1 marks the initiation site. So, from here the nucleotides are numbered with the positive sign, and it is nothing but the downstream region. Whatever the nucleotides that are present preceding to the +1 region is considered as the upstream region. Upstream region, generally it is denoted with the negative symbol. So upstream region bears most of the regulatory elements like promoter sequences and many more. So generally these promoter sequences are present between minus 40 to minus 60 or 40 to 60 nucleotides in this region. Then let me be more precise to explain the transcription initiation site in case of the eukaryotes. Here, as I explained you earlier, it is the initiation region. In the initiation region, the most important thing is promoter. Promoter is generally present between minus 26 to minus 31, or it is placed at minus 30. The conserved sequence of the promoter in case of the eukaryotes is TAA. It is also called as Tata box, or sometimes it is also called as Harkness box. To initiate transcription, promoter is essential. So apart from promoter, there are other sequences present in this region. The other one is BRE sequence. BRE sequence refers to B recognition elements. The sequence that is present between minus 32 to minus 37 is GGG, CG, CCC is the sequence that is present after the promoter, and it is called as B recognition element. I'll tell you about B recognition element little later. The other important element is, which is present between minus 2 to plus 4, is INR sequence. INR sequence is initiator sequence. So initiator sequence also helps in the recognition of the gene by the RNA polymerases. Some of the other sequences that I have not shown in this picture but they are present in the gene are activator binding sequences, repressor sequences, promoter proximal elements, and upstream activator sequences, enhancers, silencers, and many more. Now, first I should tell you how exactly transcription is initiated in case of the eukaryotes. In case of the eukaryotes, transcription is divided into 3 steps: initiation, elongation, and termination. In case of the initiation, as I said, this is the initiation site. So the first transcription factor, as I said, if the mRNA coding gene has to be transcribed, it should be recognized by RNA polymerase II. If RNA polymerase II should recognize the promoter, it should have the set of proteins that belong to the class of transcription factor 2. So the first protein that we are encountering here is, if there is a gene, if this gene has to be transcribed, there is a protein called as TF2D, transcription factor 2D. Transcription factor 2D binds to the Tata box. The beauty of this transcription factor is TBP, or like TF2D, has 2 types of subunits. One is TBP. TBP means Tata binding protein. The other one is TAF, TBP associated factors. So generally TF2D, in the TF2D, TBP protein interacts with Tata box. As the name itself suggests, TBP stands for Tata binding protein. Now there is a Tata sequence. To this sequence, TBP recognizes this Tata sequence, and this is the first transcription factor to be landed on the promoter. So this, after the binding of the TBP associated factors interacts with the INR sequence. So this is the first transcription factor that is placed. And one more, the remarkable thing about TBP is TBP binds to the minor groove of the DNA, which is which is not often seen in most of the transcription factors. After the binding of this TF2D, the next Yeah, this is what I explained to you till now. TF2D, there is TBP subunit and there are TAFs. TF2D has one Tata binding protein and 10 TBP associated factors. There are totally 10 subunits that account for TAF. TAFs recognize INR and other sequences. TBP recognizes minor groove of the Tata box. This is what I explained to you already in the previous slide. Yes, after the recognition of the promoter by these two subunits, next proteins, auxiliary proteins that attaches or that interacts with the promoter sequences are TF2A, TF2B. So basically transcription machinery is settling on the regulatory region of the gene to initiate transcription. So TF2A comes and binds in somewhere here, and TF2B. 2B here it binds to BRE sequences. BRE means B recognition elements. This is called as BRE because this sequence is recognized by TF2B. So these four proteins assemble. After this, the next protein, you can see the assembly of what? 4 proteins. The next one is TF2F, another transcription factor. Then RNA polymerase 2. These two proteins, that is RNA polymerase 2 and transcription factor 2F, comes together to the site of transcription. Now you can see that there is a RNA polymerase is recruited directly to the site of transcription, that is near the initiator site or between the promoter site as well as the initiator site. So this yellow color ball indicates this is the RNA polymerase. After the assembly of RNA polymerase along with these 5 proteins, 2 more proteins enters this step, that is TF2E, TF2H. Totally 7 proteins have assembled on the regulatory region, that is between the your BRE sequences, Tata box and initiator sequences. After all this, you can see there is a red color dots which I shown very clearly in this one. So here we call this as tail of the RNA polymerase. This tail in the sense, RNA polymerase has the largest subunit. One among the subunit is the largest subunit. The C-terminal domain of the largest subunit of the RNA polymerase protrudes outside of the RNA polymerase like this. Therefore, it is generally called it as the tail of the RNA polymerase. This has a major role in case of the transcription and transcription regulation, which I am going to discuss in detail in the next videos. So as I said, assembly of totally 7 transcription factors along with the RNA polymerase, we call this as pre-initiation complex. This means the proteins, the necessary proteins for the initiation of the transcription are ready. RNA polymerase has occupied the genomic DNA and now it has to start its transcription. I hope it is clear that these 2 parallel lines indicates it's a double stranded DNA, which I have explained you in all my previous videos. Yes, I will speak few things about the RNA polymerase and its tail before I proceed with the initiation of the transcription. The most fascinating thing about the RNA polymerase 2 is it has the largest subunit of the RNA polymerase has the C-terminal domain, which indicated like a tail. Here, very important thing to be remembered here is the tail has, of course it is a protein made up of amino acids, and the amino acid sequence is YS, PT, SPS. So what I am trying to tell you is it is a highly conserved sequence seen in case of the RNA polymerase. YS, PT, SPS corresponds to tyrosine, serine, proline, threonine, serine, proline, serine. In the previous slide, you got to know that if there is a protein called as TF2H as assembled into the pre-initiation complex. To explain you the role of TF2H, I need to explain you this. RNA polymerase, it has a tail. The tail has the conserved sequence, that is YSPT-SPS. Among this, the transcription factor 2H, that is TF2H, has two types of subunits, and these two types of subunits have distinct role. TF2H has two catalytic activity. First one is it has kinase activity. The other one is it has helicase activity. Kinase means it phosphorylates its substrate. Helicase means if there is a double-stranded DNA, it opens up the double-stranded DNA. This is nothing but the helicase activity. So TF2H, which is accommodated into the pre-initiation complex as the last member, has two types of activity, that is kinase activity, the other one is helicase activity. Now another thing that I want to make sure here is, through its kinase activity, it phosphorylates fifth serine residue in case of YSPT-SPS. So as I said, this is the conserved sequence. If you count the number of amino acid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth amino acid is serine. Serine undergo phosphorylation by the TF2H. And you should not be under the impression that there is YSPT-SPS, a single copy of YSPT-SPS in case of the C-terminal domain of the tail of the RNA polymerase. Generally, in case of the RNA polymerase that is being found in the humans, has 52 repeats of YSPT-SPS, 52 repeats. Among yeast, it is repeated 27 times. So which indicates that, so there is a large number of phosphorylation in the tail of the RNA polymerase. So this is so at the fifth position, whatever the serine that is there is phosphorylated using the kinase activity of the TF2H. Now you can see in this picture the tail has been phosphorylated by the action of TF2H. If I show you this picture, in this picture 2H has been accommodated into the initiation complex, but the tail is not phosphorylated. Once after the accommodation of TF2H, the serine, fifth serine residues undergo phosphorylation. Once after the phosphorylation, I also told you the TF2H has helicase activity. That means it should basically unwind the DNA strands. So this is what you are looking at. In this picture, there are two parallel lines indicating that it is a double-stranded DNA. But here in this picture, you can see that there is a formation of the transcription bubble. These two parallel lines are no more parallel. There is a formation of the transcription bubble. This is nothing but promoter melting. So this is has taken place with the help of the transcription factor along with TF2H. So this initiates transcription. Now you can also see that during this process, once after the accommodation of all these transcription factors on the promoter, the RNA polymerase tail get phosphorylated. Once after the phosphorylation, RNA polymerase starts to move on the DNA. So you can see this is the initiation site. It has left out all the transcription factors in their places, but transcription bubble is moving as the RNA polymerase continues with the polymerization activity. The mRNA also grows. You can see the transcription bubble has is moving and the mRNA has fallen out of the transcription bubble, or it is hanging out of the transcription bubble. This is how transcription is initiated by RNA polymerase II in case of eukaryotes. As I said, the next portion in case of the transcription is elongation. Elongation is more or less very similar to prokaryotes. There is a coupling of the nucleotides based on using template DNA. If there is A in the template DNA, there is addition of uracil or uridine in the mRNA. If there is T in the DNA, it adds adenosine. Like this, there is a coupling of the nucleotides based on the template DNA, and elongation continues. So basically, in case of the eukaryotes, the DNA is associated with a protein complex called as histone proteins, histone octamer, which is made up of H2A, 2B, H3 and H4, which all have present in the form of the dimers, which forms the octamer, histone octamer. So DNA is wrapped with these histone octamers. In case of these eukaryotes, there is a protein called as FACT. The function of this FACT protein is it facilitates the transcription. FACT facilitates the transcription. So it removes the histone octamer in the form of the dimers, and it allows the RNA polymerase to move on the template DNA. So this is how it allows the elongation of the transcription. Though there are many auxiliary proteins associated with the elongation, I think this information must be enough about the elongation. So one more thing here is another important event that I should tell you about the transcription elongation is there is a recruitment of, once after the removal of all the initiating transcription factor, there is a recruitment of another protein called as PTEFB, the name of the protein. It is also a kinase. It is recruited to RNA polymerase directly. So I can show you, this is the protein that I am talking to you about. This is PTEFB. So the function of this PTEFB is, I have shown it in the next picture. RNA polymerase has a tail. It has YSPT-SPS. Among YSPT-SPS, it has fifth serine residue, which is phosphorylated by TF2H. Once the TF2H phosphorylates this, the initiation takes place. RNA polymerase begins to move. While moving, it encounters a protein PTEFB. It is a kinase. Here, the notable point here is it will phosphorylate serine that is present at the second position in YSPT-SPS. So totally, among these 7 amino acids in the heptapeptide, 2 amino acids are phosphorylated using these two kinases. So again, I will be talking to you about the importance of these phosphorylation sites in the video that I am going to discuss about post-transcriptional modifications. So, as I said, this is a PTEFB is a transcription factor which phosphorylates the second serine residues. Apart from this, it brings two proteins to the site of elongation. Those proteins are called as SPT5 and TAT-SF1. SPT5 helps to recruit capping enzyme. TAT-SF1 recruits components of the splicing machinery. Again, about these two proteins, I will discuss again in the post-transcriptional modifications. So this completes the process of transcription elongation. So I will be talking to you about termination of transcription once I discuss with you about how exactly the tailing or polyadenylation takes place in case of the eukaryotes, because during the eukaryotic transcription there are several events that are taking place. One is the mRNA that is being synthesized should be protected, so therefore it undergo capping, then it is followed by adenylation at the 3' end. So after these two events transcription is terminated. It is so transcription termination will be explained in the separate video. And one more important thing that you should note here is always transcription moves in the 5' to 3' direction, which is a very important point to be remembered. Yes, thank you.